Hello, everyone. We're starting a new book. It's called PET, Parent Effectiveness Training, the proven program for raising responsible children. Let's jump into chapter 1. Parents are blamed but not trained. Everybody blames parents for the troubles of youth and for the troubles that young people appear to be causing society. It's all the fault of the parents. Mental health experts lament after examining the frightening statistics on the rapidly increasing number of children and youth who develop serious or crippling emotional problems, who become victims of drug addiction, or who commit suicide. Political leaders and law enforcement officials blame parents for raising a generation of gang members, homicidal teenagers, violent students, and criminals. And when kids fail in school or become hopeless dropouts, teachers and school administrators claim that parents are at fault. Yet who is helping parents? How much effort is being made to assist parents to become more effective in raising children? Where can parents learn what they are doing wrong and what they might do differently? Parents are blamed but not trained. Millions of new mothers and fathers take on a job each year that ranks among the most difficult anyone can have, taking an infant, a little person who is almost totally helpless, assuming full responsibility for his physical and psychological health, and raising him so he will become a productive, cooperative, and contributing citizen. What more difficult and demanding job is there? Yet, how many parents are trained for it? Far more now than in 1962, when in Pasadena, California, I decided to design a training program for parents. There were only 17 in my first class, mostly parents who were already experiencing serious problems with their children. Now, so many years later, having trained more than 2 million parents, both in the United States and in countries throughout the world, we have demonstrated that this course, called Parent Effectiveness Training, or simply PET, can teach most parents the skills they need to be more effective at the job of raising children. We have demonstrated in this exciting program that with a certain kind of training led by a qualified PET instructor, many parents can greatly increase their effectiveness in parenthood. They can acquire very specific skills that will keep the channels of communication open between parents and children, both ways. And they can learn a new method of resolving parent-child conflicts that brings about a strengthening rather than a deterioration of the relationship. This program has convinced us that parents and their children can develop a warm, intimate relationship based on mutual love and respect. It has also demonstrated that rifts need not exist in families. When I was practicing clinical psychologist, when I was a practicing clinical psychologist, I was as convinced as most parents that the period of rebellion in the teen years was both normal and inevitable, the result of adolescents' universal desire to establish their independence and rebel against their parents. I was sure that adolescence, as most studies have shown, was invariably a time of storm and stress in families. Our experience with PET has proven me wrong. Time and time again, parents trained in PET have reported the surprising absence of rebellion and turmoil in their families. I am now convinced that adolescents do not rebel against parents. They only rebel against certain destructive methods of discipline almost universally employed by parents. Turmoil and dissension in families can be the exception, not the rule, when parents learn to substitute a new method of resolving conflicts. The PET program has also thrown new light on punishment in children rearing. Many of our PET parents have proven to us that punishment can be discarded forever in disciplining children. And I mean all kinds of punishment, not just the physical kind. Parents can raise children who are responsible, self-disciplined, and cooperative without relying on the weapon of fear. They can learn how to influence children to behave out of genuine consideration for the needs of the parents, rather than out of fear of punishment or withdrawal of privileges. Does this sound too good to be true? Probably it does. It did for me before I had the experience of personally training parents in PET. Like most professionals, I had underestimated parents. PET parents have taught me how much they are capable of changing. Given the opportunity for training, I have a new trust in the ability of mothers and fathers to comprehend new knowledge and acquire new skills. Our PET parents, with few exceptions, have been eager to learn a new approach to child rearing. But first, they have to be convinced that the new method will work. Most parents already know their old methods have been ineffective. So today's parents are ready for change, and our PET program has demonstrated they can change. We have been rewarded by one other outcome of the PET program. One of our earliest objectives was to teach parents some of the very skills used by professional counselors and therapists with formal training in helping children overcome emotional problems and maladaptive behavior. It may seem strange or even presumptuous that we had such aspirations. Preposterous though it may sound to some parents and to quite a few professionals, we know now that even parents who have never taken a basic college course in psychology can be taught these proven skills and can learn how and when to employ them effectively to help their own children. During the growth of PET, we have come to accept a reality that sometimes makes us discouraged, yet more often makes us feel all the more challenged. Parents today rely almost universally on the same methods of raising children and dealing with problems in their families that were used by their own parents, by their parents' parents, by their grandparents' parents. Unlike almost all other institutions of society, the parent-child relationship seems to have remained unchanged. Parents depend on methods used 2,000 years ago. Not that the human race has acquired no new knowledge about human relationships. Quite the contrary. Psychology, child development, and other behavioral sciences have amassed impressive new knowledge about children, parents, interpersonal relationships, how to help another person grow, how to create a psychologically healthy climate for people. A lot is known about effective person-to-person communications, the effects of power in human relationships, constructive conflict resolution, and so on. This book presents a comprehensive philosophy of what it takes to establish and maintain an effective, total relationship with a child. In any and all circumstances, parents can learn not only methods and skills, but also when and why they are to be used and for what purpose. Parents will be given a complete system, principles as well as techniques. It is my conviction that parents must be told the whole story, all that we know about creating effective parent-child relationships, beginning with some fundamentals about what goes on in all relationships between two people. Then they will understand why they are using the PET methods, when it is appropriate to use them, and what the outcome will be. Parents will be given a chance to become experts themselves in dealing with the inevitable problems that come up in all parent-child relationships. In this book, parents will be given everything we know, not just bits and pieces. A complete model of effective parent-child relationships will be described in detail and will frequently be illustrated with case material from our experience. Most parents consider PET quite revolutionary because it differs dramatically from tradition. Yet it fits parents with very young children as well as those with teenagers, parents of children with and without disabilities. PET will be described in terms familiar to everyone. not in technical jargon. Some parents may find themselves initially disagreeing with some of these concepts, but very few will find themselves not understanding them. Since readers will not be able to express their concerns face to face with an instructor, here are some questions and answers that may be helpful at the start. Is this another permissive approach to raising children? Answer, definitely not. Permissive parents get into as much trouble as overly strict parents, for their kids often turn out to be selfish, unmanageable, uncooperative, and inconsiderate of the needs of their parents. Question: can one parent use this approach effectively if the other sticks to the old approach? Answer, yes and no. If only one parent starts to use this new approach, there will be a definite improvement in the relationship between that parent and the children. But the relationship between the other parent and the children may get worse. Far better than for both parents to learn the new methods. Furthermore, when both parents try to learn this new approach together, they can help each other a great deal. Question: will parents lose their influence over the children with this new approach? Will they abdicate the responsibility to give guidance and direction to their children's lives? Answer: as parents read the first chapters, they may get this impression. A book can only present a system step by step. The early chapters deal with ways to help children find their own solutions to problems they encounter. In these situations, the role of an effective parent will seem different, much more passive or non-directive than parents are accustomed to. Later chapters, however, deal with how to modify unacceptable behavior of children and how to influence them to be considerate of your needs as a parent. In these situations, you will be shown specific ways of being an even more responsible parent, acquiring even more influence than you have now. It might be helpful to check the table of contents for the subjects covered in later chapters. This book teaches parents a rather easy-to-learn method of encouraging kids to accept responsibility for finding their own solutions to their own problems, and illustrate how parents can put that method to work right away in the home. Parents who learn this method, called active listening, may experience what PET-trained parents have described. It's such a relief to think I have to have all the answers. It's such a relief not to think I have to have all the answers to my children's problems. These are quotes. PET has made me have a much greater appreciation of the capacities of my children for solving their own problems. I was amazed at how the active listening method worked. My kids come up with solutions to their problems that are often far better than any I could have given them. I guess I've always been very uncomfortable about playing the role of God, feeling that I should be knowing what my kids should do when they have problems. Today, thousands of adolescents have fired their parents, and for good reason as far as the kids are concerned. My mom just doesn't get kids my age. I just hate to go home and get nagged at every night. I never tell my parents anything. If I did, they wouldn't understand. I wish my dad would get off my back. As soon as I can, I'm leaving home. I can't stand them hassling me about everything. The parents of these kids are usually well aware of having lost their jobs, as evidenced by these statements made in our PET classes. I have absolutely no influence over my 16-year-old boy. We've pretty much given up with Andrew. Natalie won't ever eat with us, and she hardly ever says a word to us. Now she stays in her room all the time. Mark is never home, and he'll never tell me where he goes or what he's doing. If I ever ask him, he tells me it's none of my business. To me, it is a tragedy that one of the potentially most intimate and satisfying relationships in life so often creates bad blood. Why do so many adolescents come to see their parents as the enemy? Why is there such a rift between parents and children? Why are parents and youth in our society literally at war with each other? Chapter 14 will deal with these questions and show why it is necessary for kids to rebel and revolt against their parents. PET is revolutionary, yes, but not a method that invites revolution. Rather, it is a method that can help parents avoid being fired, can prevent war in the home, and bring parents and children closer rather than grouped against each other as hostile antagonists. Parents who at first may be inclined to reject our methods or that are too revolutionary might find the motivation to study them with an open mind by reading the following excerpt from a history submitted by a mother and father after they had taken PET. Dean, at 16, was our greatest problem. He was estranged. He was running wild and was completely irresponsible. He was getting his first D's and F's in school. He never came home at the agreed times, offering as excuses flat tires, broken watches, empty gas tanks. We spied on him. He lied to us. We grounded him. We took away his license. We docked his allowance. Our conversations were full of recriminations, all to no avail. After one violent argument, he lay on the kitchen floor and kicked and screamed and shouted that he was going crazy. At that point, we enrolled in Dr. Gordon's class for parents. Change did not come overnight. We never had felt like a unit, a warm and loving, deeply caring family. This only came about after great change in our attitudes and values. This new idea of being a person, a strong, separate person, expressing his own values but not forcing them on another, but being a good model. This was just the turning point. We had much greater influence. From rebellion and fits of rage, from failure in school, Dean changed to an open, friendly, loving person who calls his parents two of my favorite people. He is finally back in the family. I have a relationship with him I never believed possible, full of love and trust and independence. He is strongly internally motivated. And when each one of us is also, we really live and grow as a family. Parents who learn to use our new way of communicating their feelings are not likely to produce a child like the 16-year-old boy who was sat in my office and announced with a straight face, "I don't have to do anything around this house. Why should I? It's my parents' job to take care of me. They are legally required to. I didn't ask to be born, did I?" When I heard what this young man said and obviously believed, I could not help but think, what kind of person are we producing if children are permitted to grow up with the attitude that the world owes them so much even though they give back so little? What kind of citizen are parents sending out into the world? What kind of society will these selfish human beings make? Almost without exception, parents can be categorized roughly into three groups: the winners, the losers, and the oscillators. Parents in the first group strongly defend persuasively justify their right to exercise authority or power over the child. They believe in restricting, setting limits, demanding certain behaviors, giving commands, and expecting obedience. They use threats of punishment to influence the child to obey and mete out punishments when he does not. When conflict arises between the needs of the parents and those of the child, these parents consistently resolve the conflict in such a way that the parent wins and the child loses. Generally, these parents rationalize their winning by such stereotype thinking as, this is the way my parents raised me, and I turned out pretty well. It's for the good of the child. Children actually want parental authority, or simply the vague notion that it is the responsibility of parents to use their authority for the good of the child because parents know the best when is right and wrong. The second group of parents, somewhat fewer in numbers than the winners, allow their children a great deal of freedom most of the time. They consciously avoid setting limits and proudly admit that they do not condone authoritarian methods. When conflict occurs between the needs of the parent and those of the child, rather consistently, it is the child who wins and the parent who loses, because such parents believe it is harmful to frustrate the child's needs. Probably the largest group of parents is made up of those who find it impossible to follow consistently either one of the first two approaches. Consequently, in trying to arrive at a judicious mixture of each, they oscillate back and forth between being strict and lenient, tough and easy, restrictive and permissive, winning and losing. As one mother told us, I try to be permissive with my children until they get so bad I can't stand them. Then I feel I have to change and start using my authority until I get so strict I can't stand myself. The parents who shared these feelings in one of the PET classes unknowingly spoke for the large number in the oscillating group. These are the parents who are probably most confused and uncertain, and, as we shall show later, those children are often the most disturbed. The major dilemma of today's parents is that they perceive only two approaches to handling conflicts in the home. Conflicts that inevitably arise between parent and child. They see but two alternatives in child rearing. Some choose the I win, you lose approach. Some the you win, I lose approach, while others seemingly cannot decide between the two. Parents in PET are surprised to learn that there are alternatives to the two win-lose methods. We call it the no-lose method of resolving conflicts. And helping parents learn how to use it effectively is one of the principal aims of PET. While this method has been used for years for resolving other conflicts, few parents have ever thought of it as a method for resolving parent-child conflicts. Many husbands and wives resolve their conflicts by mutual problem solving. So do business partners, labor unions, and management negotiate contracts binding to both. Property settlements and divorces are often arrived at by joint decision-making. Even children frequently work out their conflicts by mutual agreement or informal contracts acceptable to both. If you do this, then I agree to that. With increasing frequency, corporations are training executives to use participative decision-making in resolving conflicts. No gimmick or quick road to effective parenthood. The no-lose method requires a rather basic change in the attitudes of most parents towards their children. It takes time to use it in the home, and it requires that parents first learn the skills of non-valuative listening and honest communication of their own feelings. Consequently, the no-lose method is described and illustrated in later chapters of this book. Its position in the book, however, does not reflect the true importance of the no-lose method in our total approach to child rearing. In fact, this method is bringing discipline into the home through effective management of conflict, is the heart and soul of our philosophy. It is the master key to parent effectiveness. Parents who take the time to understand it and then conscientiously employ it at home as an alternative to the two win-lose methods are richly rewarded, usually far beyond their hopes and expectations. End of chapter.